From all of us here at SEC Unfiltered, happy Halloween to you and your family. I love this holiday. This is my favorite time of the year, and I go big. I decorate the house. I get the king-size candy bars to pass out to the kids. I'm even dressed up right now. Can't you tell? I'm backwards Cole. Usually my hat's on backwards, and I have a plain shirt. Well, today, hat on forward, and I am unstoppable. This is my favorite holiday and largely just reminds me of my childhood to when I would go scout out the houses to land the best candy possible that would carry me on over into Christmas. And so I figured today, in light of the holidays, instead of doing our annual tier rankings, let's decide what every SEC team would be as a treat in your candy bag this year. So let's not waste any time. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. Like the video, hit the ring notification, and be nice this holiday season. Subscribe to the channel because we're on the race to 30,000 subs. Download the podcast version of the show. Make sure you're following us on the socials and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And I'm going to give you a treat right here. We're always brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. So sign up today and get $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Could be on the World Series final 2 games, could be on the NBA season, college football season, way too early Heisman odds, and plenty of others. FanDuel.com/SECU. It's a treat. You're going to get $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So let's start off at the bottom as we always do and work our way on up. Don't worry, the chapters will be in there. But Kentucky's had a bad season. They're on the verge of probably moving off of Mark Stoops. And honestly, this becomes a place that you want to avoid if you're a recruit, if you're a transfer portal player. And it's largely because it's like the house that decides to give away the big ball of popcorn. That one. Just nobody wants it. It's kettle corn. It's really dry. If it's not dry, it's wet because of it's got too much caramel sauce or whatever the thing that they put all together with, the sticky stuff. It's not good. Nobody wants it. 90% of the time when you go home and you empty out your candy bag, you just throw it immediately into the trash or worse, back at the person's house. And that's kind of Kentucky this year. They don't have a lot of spark. They're not really held together properly. There's a lot of things that need to change this offseason out in Lexington if they want to be considered a contender long-term in the SEC. They are the bottom dwellers. They are currently the house that you just avoid on the pathway because why the hell would you want to go anywhere where they're giving out not real candy? I mean, that's just kind of the case. As for Arkansas, my fine people, you are black licorice. That's just the point. There are people out there that love black licorice. I'm one of those people that loves Taylor Green. I see Taylor Green and I look at a star. I see this team and I see so much potential in the passing attack, on what's got in the ground game, what's got in the offensive line, and they'll swear by it. Black licorice people, they don't go ahead and boast it out. They're not like these people who are saying, you got to try this or you're not good. You're not American if you don't like black. They're not doing that. But what they are doing is they're a very proud bunch that definitely knows it is a select few at this point. There's not a lot of hope right now with Bobby Petrino running the show. And maybe the next coach that comes on in will be able to fix some things. The way you fix it is with money. You fix it by bringing in the right revenue distribution. You bring in the right boosters. You make sure that you go reach out to the big people like Jerry Jones, like the Walton family. Because if it's not fair that everyone else in the sporting community out in Fayetteville is getting the attention and you're just kind of funneling through the motions, but they expect you to go 8-4. And that's like black licorice. It's like, you know, the Twizzlers exist. You know that you can have literally any type of other thing out there, but you're just kind of accepting that that house decided to give you black licorice. Mississippi State. This is an interesting one, and it was very hard to kind of come into conclusion on what I want to do with this. But Mississippi State's are milk duds. And I'll explain because the milk duds, when they're put together and they're not all in a clump, really good on its own. You want to freeze them? They're really good. That's Mississippi State's offense and defense this year. When it wants to be humming with the combination of Dalvin Booth and Fluff Bothwell in the background, when we're getting the likelihood of a 300-yard day from Blake Shapen, Anthony Evans, and then you throw in Brennan Thompson making plays in the open field, it's really good. It's really good. Defensively, Coleman Huffster would do some things in the offseason to at least make this a serviceable unit. Very much so something that you could lean your hat on and go, that's surviving. They're an improved team. It's an improved candy. Here's the problem. When the milk duds get all clumped together and mushy because if you left them out in the sun for too long, it's just bad. And ultimately, that was a mistake that you made probably at the worst time. And that's Mississippi State. They made a mistake at the worst time. The interception against Florida, allowing Texas to come back down 2 scores, finding a way not to be able to close things out against Tennessee. So you're right there. It's good candy. Nobody I know doesn't like milk duds. I don't know many people out there that are saying Mississippi State is a terrible program underneath Jeff Lebby. But one critical mistake could be the difference of you having a sweet treat and you having a disaster on your hands. And that has kind of been Mississippi State's season this entire year. Sweet treat right on the horizon. Disaster on its hands because of the execution late in the fourth quarter. Florida. Florida's interesting because Florida, I think, has all the potential to be a top-tier candy, especially in your candy bag. I think it's Fun Dip. And let me explain. When you're an adult, when you're somebody that actually knows how to handle the powderness, it's a great treat. The stick doesn't overpower. Actually got a little bit of a cherry taste to it. You go ahead and make sure you dip it on in. Guess what? You come out on the other side. It's fantastic. That's Florida. Florida has everything that you want down there. And I know, Fun Dip, it's powder. There's a lot of powder down in Florida. We can talk about that on a different day. We're not going down that rabbit hole. I don't have time for it. But Florida as a program is really, really, really fun. They have the pieces in play. Jaden Ball, one of the best running backs in the SEC. I love their young up-and-coming wide receivers, Vernell Brown and Dallas Wilson. I think that they could be this version 2-3 years down the line of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. They're that good. They could take on over the SEC. Defensively, they're a very solid unit. There are some faults to them, but you know what? There's faults whenever you break the stick or you don't have the right flavor or you concoct the two. That's Florida's defense. It's still very good. But if you give it to a 3-year-old, Fun Dip, just a mess. You're going to be cleaning it up out of the carpet. They're going to be running around. They're going to have to take a shower afterwards. It's just bad. You have all the right ingredients, but the cook that's actually holding onto the stick just decided to destroy the place. And that was kind of Billy Napier this past year. Could have gone out and hired a play caller. Could have gone out and brought in more offensive pieces that would have bettered the team. Could have gone out and made sure that his team was no longer under the reconstruction of his bad offense. He was just flinging things around and hoping it would stick. And ultimately, it ended up being his demise, which is why he's no longer the coach down in Gainesville. So it makes perfect comparison for Fun Dip. Now, South Carolina fans, you know I love you. But South Carolina fans are a tried and true group, especially this season. Now, not every year they're going to be this candy, but this year specifically, they're good and plenty. Now, any of you know what good and plenty is? It's coated licorice in little forms. And that's the thing about South Carolina. It's a step up from Arkansas. It's not as bad as Arkansas when it comes to licorice. You got a casing around you because you got some stars. And that's what makes it a little bit different. There's a little bit of a flavor to it. That's Nick Harbor. That's Dylan Stewart. That's Lenore Sellers. That's what you get with even, I would say, if you want to throw in maybe a Jalon Kilgore. You got your players that make your team a little bit better. There's definitely star power that is going to make it to the Sunday game and represent South Carolina in the highest honor, and they will end up being household figures at the next level. And again, that's the candy. That's the coating around it. But then you got to go back to the reality, which is, and the harsh reality, we're a team that is probably slightly better than Arkansas at this point. We constantly shoot ourselves in the foot. We've had opportunities to go ahead and pull off an upset, and we couldn't get the job done. And all the overhypeness that we had going into the season, it kind of got a little bit too big for us, and now we came back down. But much like Arkansas fans with that black licorice, you're a proud tribe. You are War Chicken faithful, have never steered away from telling me, telling Chris, telling everybody on the internet, we know that we're going to be good. You don't doubt us out. You don't count us out on this game. You don't count out a good and plenty being an audible at the movie theater or whenever you got to go ahead and have a candy right before dinner. You pull it out. It's not your first choice. Definitely not your last choice. You're content with it. Now, Auburn, and this is going to come off very condescending. I don't really care. Auburn's an Almond Joy. And you want to know why I say Auburn's an Almond Joy? Because there is no in between when it comes to Almond Joy. You love it or you hate it. That's it. Bottom line. If you are an Almond Joy sicko, you will gladly tell everybody that you think Almond Joy is the best candy out there. And there will be the rest of us that look at you and go, oh, you poor, poor, poor soul. There are many people down on the plains that say War Eagle on Saturdays that look at that program and say, you know, if we just didn't have that penalty called against us in Oklahoma, we'd win that game. You know, if we just got across the pylon against Georgia, we'd win that game. And if we just didn't have that one mistake in the third quarter, we'd beat Missouri in double overtime. We wouldn't even go to double overtime. We would have won that game outright. And we'd have, what, one loss on the year? Hugh Freeze doing a great job. Hugh Freeze has turned our program so close to being right back on the pinnacle of a legit team that you need to fear in the SEC. And it's like, I just want to give you a blanket, a cup of cocoa, and let you down easy. Because Almond Joy, it's not good candy. It's really not. Auburn, it's not a good football team. It's really not. But there are people out there on both sides of the spectrum that will try to convince you every single day, Almond Joy, fantastic. Auburn football on the come up. And it's just like, guys, you kind of deserve each other at this point. That's the only way I can go about it. Now, LSU is a little bit different. LSU is a pre-wrapped 2-piece Starburst. Now, many of you know what I'm talking about here. When you were a kid growing up and you saw the Starburst bag, you were excited. Because that meant that you could get a double pink. That meant that you could get a double red. You'd take a red and an orange. Nobody would complain about that. Everyone would be very content with that type of stuff. And then here's the thing. You open it on up, and it's a double yellow. And that is LSU this year, ladies and gentlemen. We saw the Starburst packing on the outside. We saw LSU for what it was as a program this year. Better defense with spending money in the transfer portal. Look at the wide receivers that they were able to go bring on in to pair alongside with Garrett Nussmeier. Nuss is coming on back. Joe Sloan is coming on back. Brian Kelly has a roster built to be able to turn this team into a legit national championship threat. Oh, and they win week 1. A new standard underneath BK. Out on the road, I might add it. Not a neutral site, but on the road in the other Death Valley. That's like Starburst. You can't feel me now. Oh, this is fantastic. That's like you slowly pull open the packaging and you see the first yellow. And that's a loss to Ole Miss. And it's like, oh boy. Yeah, it's going to be one of those years, right? Well, okay, we can still make the playoff. No problem. We get a pink, we get a red. Things turn the corner. And then you lose to Vanderbilt, and you start to peel back that first layer, and you see in the corner it's light, and then you get mollywopped by Texas A&M, and you pull it on over, and oh no, it's yellow. Oh, nobody wanted that. Like again, that's just where we are when it comes to LSU, a team that was prestige on the outside with all the right coatings and all the right packaging, looks fantastic, and then you got to go do a deep dive and actually open things on up, and it just becomes a mellow afternoon. That's all I can say. Now Texas is a Twix bar. And I'll explain why. Because there's 2 bars in there, and there's 2 teams that we see on Texas on Saturdays. We see the team that right now is able to fight its way back in SEC play on the road, sweat out some bullets, trust its defense to bail it out of trouble in critical moments, and the offense do just enough to get you on by. And you start believing, and you look at the SEC up and down, and you go, okay, well, the Florida game was bad, but hey, we beat Oklahoma and Red River. We beat Kentucky. We beat Mississippi State. And all of you SEC guys that told us when we joined the league that we're not going to be able to handle this, we're doing exactly like you're doing. You got to give us a little bit of credit for handling our own on the road in these environments. That's Texas. And that's a good Texas team. That's a Texas team that if it pushes its cards right now, which I consider to be the left Twix, you're in the college football playoff because 10-2 with that burnt orange logo is not being left out. And then there's the right side of the Twix. And to me, that's where Texas goes belly up, where we constantly are looking at this team and saying to ourselves, they should be better than that. They're not top 50 in rushing this year. That's not a Steve Sarkisian trait. The transfer portal receivers aren't doing that well. That's a problem. The defense gave up over 350 yards to Kentucky. We saw Mississippi State do what? And that is where you got to look at yourself and say, oh boy, an 8-4 season may be on the horizon. Texas 8-4 is not living out Kyle Field this year. It's coming to DKR. Now, again, the left Twix right now looking pretty promising. Got a game against Vanderbilt. Got a game against Arkansas. Got a game against Texas A&M. The Georgia game is a little bit rocky, but still feel pretty good. You can turn the tide a little bit. I just think that right now, you got 2 Twix bars. Which one are you coming away with? And Twix is a good treat. Nobody's complaining about when they get that cookie layer on top of the caramel covered in chocolate. It's a very delectable treat that is long-standing, and Texas is going to be long-standing in the SEC. But are you the left Twix bar or are you the right Twix bar in 2025? Oklahoma, you M&Ms. And I love M&Ms. I really do. If you get me the peanut butter ones too, oh, fantastic. But it's boring. I mean, you look at the candy coating, you're saying to yourself, oh, I got orange. Oh, I got brown. I got the blue. Got the red. Can't wait to try. Guys, it's all the same. I mean, you may hate me saying this, but it's all the same. And that's kind of Oklahoma at this point in the year. We got a defense that's going to bail us out of trouble. They're going to put pressure on a quarterback. They're top 5 in pressure rate. They're top 5 in sacks. They're top 7 in tackles for loss. They're number 5 in run defense. They're number 7 in pass defense. They're a legit downfield. Well, we saw all these things last year, right? And then we got to turn the corner and look at the offense. Oh, so now we're just covering, the candy, the chocolate, with a nice little coated shell. And even though I look at aquamarine, I'm like, oh my God, I got an aquamarine M&M. Still an M&M, still just chocolate. Oh, I got an emerald green M&M from the store in New York City. Guys, it's still just chocolate. The offense has not been able to turn the tides the way that you want to see it. The run game has been obsolete. Now, they have turned a little bit of the corner, which is like you adding in the peanut butter or you adding in the crunch. That's a good thing. Xavier Robinson, Tory Blaylock starting to figure some things out. But at the same time, you got to ask yourself, do we really feel like this team is good enough to go to the college football playoff and win a national title? Probably not. And you weren't good enough last year, and you probably weren't good enough the last 2 or 3 years, and you weren't good enough to win a national title underneath Lincoln Riley, and you fell short underneath Bob Stoops, and so it's M&Ms. Again, not a bad team. No always complain about getting M&Ms in their candy basket, but it's M&Ms. So what you see is what you get kind of feel. Now, Missouri is interesting, because I'll tell you why I'm going to put Missouri here. Missouri is a Three Musketeers bar. And a lot of you are probably saying, Cole, what the hell are you going with this? Stay with me. Missouri beats to its own drum. People who say that Three Musketeers bars are their number one treat beat their own drum. They're not boastful about it. They're not coming out of your way and saying Three Musketeers. You got to have a Three Musketeers. No, you know what they're doing? They're saying, hey, I like a Three Musketeers bar. Cool. That's all I need. And they allow themselves to find joy in what is a candy, a delectable treat. And that is the MIZ faithful. MIZ has a top 20 defense this year. They have a great rushing attack headlined by Ahmad Hardy. Unfortunately, Bo Pabula is out at this point, but they had a quarterback that was finding a rhythm with Kevin Coleman, with Brett Norfleet, with Marquise Johnson. Donovan O was making some plays. And all of these guys, we don't hear about them that much. But when we see them on Saturdays and they make plays, we go, oh, there you are. How did I forget about you? And you know what? Doesn't matter because Eli Drinkwitz has his team prepared. Just like whenever Mars Company decides to send out the Three Musketeers bar, they're like, here you go. We're prepared. We know that people are going to enjoy him. People are going to be boastful about you, but you're going to make someone's day. That's Three Musketeers. The MIZ faithful are a proud group, and I'll tell you what, as a proud card-carrying member of the Plus Three Musketeers bar, it's why you and I get along together. Probably not going to go to the playoff. It's probably not going to go to the college. It's probably not going to go to the candy football playoff either, but it doesn't mean it's not a good candy bar that can find some success. Now, Tennessee, stay with me here. It's sour. But it's a mega sour warhead. Because I'll explain, mega sour warheads hit you in the face. They come out and they swing. They're just ready to go ahead and say, what's up, ladies? It's like going into Tijuana and having a shot of tequila the second that you touch down. They let you know exactly where you are. That's a mega sour warhead. Tennessee punches you in the face offensively from the get-go. They are dropping bombs downfield. Joey Aguilar is letting it loose. You got the run game that's able to go ahead and beat you in the open field. And it's just like, jab, 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 jab. And it's like that sour punch is just so intoxicating. And your face just goes, and you just can't stand it. That is Tennessee's offense. And that's what makes them such a dynamic unit that I can't quit on believing they can go to the college football playoff. But what is it about a sour mega warhead that just turns a little bit sour? It loses its flavor, and then you just have a hard candy that you got to suckle on down until you can break it with your teeth. And that's kind of the way of where the sour punch goes away from the offense. It's just a hard defense or a lackluster defense, in my opinion. It's just a hard shell and a lackluster defense to where you just got to chip away with it until you break it. And that's Tennessee. Tennessee gives you that explosive first punch. Tennessee has Chris Brazell, Mike Matthews, Miles Kitselman. You're getting Braylon Staley added on in. Joey Aguilar, Star Thomas, Sean Bishop, Peyton Lewis. Everyone on the offense. The offensive line is really good. It's just like that punch comes and hits you. And Josh Heupel wants to let it fly. And then if it doesn't do the job entirely, you're left with a hard shell or a miscommunicated defense that ultimately puts you in a position of misery to where if that thing breaks before the clock strikes zero, you're losing a football game. That's just kind of the case. Great candy. One of my favorites growing up. Tennessee's one of the greatest fan bases in all of college football. They deserve this ranking because if you want to know what, they deserve to have that same type of punch. Now, Hershey Bar, the old classic, regular candy bar. Nothing special about it, but it's making a comeback. You look at the numbers. Go look at the rankings right now whenever you're talking to people about the stock market on where it's going at Hershey. It's all the way up. That's Vanderbilt, baby. Nothing special about Vanderbilt. They're a private institution out in Nashville, Tennessee, with the coach that just wants to go ahead and turn the program that he once loved playing for into a legit college football playoff contender. But they're starting to turn around. Vanderbilt. Why would Vanderbilt turn around? Because they got new marketing. Or by marketing, I say quarterback, and that's Diego Pavia. And that's a new culture shift. And they're trying to connect with the younger generation. They're trying to say, hey, listen, We know that we look old and boring and blah, and that we got an anchor on that we got a V on our helmet, and that we say anchor down, and we got the gold and the black, and we don't look that sexy. But you want to know what? We get the job done. We get the job done every single Saturday when we play Vanderbilt football. When we run it well, when we run the RPO efficiently, when we're great on third down with time of possession, when we force 3 and outs, when we're exceptional by connecting, when we keep teams out of the red zone, we are unstoppable. Because that's Vanderbilt football for you. And then Hershey's chocolate bar. Nobody's complaining about it. When you just need a good old-fashioned chocolate bar, you turn to Hershey's and you say thank you. And it's starting to make a comeback, and Vanderbilt's made a comeback, and now they are a team that we fear, we revere, and we look at in the SEC as a threat to go to the college football playoff, largely because of new marketing, a.k.a. largely because of number 2 Baba Yaga Diego Pavia. Now, Ole Miss is the Butterfingers. And I know what many of you are saying. Here we go. Here comes Cole. Folks, I love my Ole Miss Nation. I do. Hotty-toddy people are the kindest folks, and honestly, there are some days that I wonder what would it be like if I actually did decide to commit back when I was going to out of high school to the Grove, to Oxford. Would it be even bigger for me? But you know what I will say? Butterfingers is a great candy. When I was growing up, Butterfingers was a great candy. And I always say to myself, hey, I could go to one more house and get a Butterfingers, or I can go to this house and get something else. And a Butterfingers, if you leave it out just a little bit too long, comes slippery. That's why they call it Butterfingers. Drips out your hands. Lane Kiffin and Company. You're right there at the finish line. Put yourself in the freezer if you got it. Frozen Butterfingers, great. I'll tell you right now, that first bite is delectable. Maybe that's what Lane Kiffin's doing right now. He has Trinidad Chambliss and Harrison Wallace and the soft fence all in the freezer, and they're like getting ready to be hardened up. And that's great, because if that's the version of Butterfingers to where you're not slipping and fumbling the bag, you're putting yourself in a position to where you know you're going to be a playoff threat. Ole Miss is knocking on the door in a year where nobody had expectations to be a legit college football playoff contender. Last season, we all thought it was going to happen, and they proceeded to lose to Kentucky, lose despite never trailing against LSU, and finding a way to mess it on up in the fourth quarter. Can you be the Butterfinger that's in the freezer, that's getting a little bit more hardened on up, that we can believe in, than the one that we're seeing out in sweltering sun of Texas that's just fumbling through our fingers? That's kind of the case right now when it comes to that. Georgia's a good old-fashioned Reese's peanut butter cup. Hate to break it to you, that's what they are. Nobody's complaining about it. It's not sexy. Just, you know what? It's got a little bit more pop. A little bit more pop than Vanderbilt, and certainly an old classic. I can tell you right now, my favorite candy bar of all time is a Reese's peanut butter cup. The team that I trust the most right now in the SEC is the one with the coach that has actually played and won an SEC title. That's Kirby Smart. You know what you're getting. You know what to expect. Don't think it's going to be flashy, but it works. That's why it's popular. That's why everyone likes it, Georgia, and they say, oh, well, they lost to Bama. Okay, that's expected. Who else are they going to lose to? Oh, 11-1 back in the SEC championship. You put Reese's peanut butter cup against, I don't know, let's say a Milky Way. Guess what's going to win 9 times out of 10 in the candy football playoff rankings? So nobody complains about it, because you want to know why? It works. It's fantastic that way. And that's what you get. An offense that knows its strengths by trusting the tight end play, trusting the run game, running the death march, and then every once in a while your defense forces a turnover, gets a big-time stop, and that's kind of the punch that we get on in when it comes to a Milky Way. That's when you put it in the freezer and you get that hard bite. That is what you get with Georgia. They're classic, they're traditional, and you know what else? Nobody hates them. I don't hate Georgia. People are like, you went to Alabama, you're supposed to hate Georgia. I have nothing against Georgia. They're good for football, and they're playing great underneath Kirby every year. I know that they're going to represent the SEC in the highest honor when we come to the playoff. Just like I know that the peanut butter cup, it's going to be fantastic. I could eat 10 of them a day, and I'll be more than content. Now let's go on over to Alabama. Alabama is a Snickers. Alabama is the traditional, we are the number one candy bar. And that's what the voters say. Go look up right now on Google what is the number one bought candy bar in the country. I'll tell you what it is. It is a Snickers. It has everything. Has everything that you want packed on in. No questions asked. Because here's why. You got the peanuts that cascade on top. That is your offensive line. Physical, give you a little bit of a punch, a little bit of a chew. They're going to fight to the finish. They're going to deliver to the finish. That's also your defensive line. Then you got to talk about the nougat center. That's your wide receiver core. Nougats can be made in so many different ways. Wide receivers can come in all shapes and sizes down in Tuscaloosa, and it works. And it's fantastic. And they're making plays, and they're getting on open. And then on the other side of the nougat, it's your defense back line. Defense backs are top 5 in the country right now. They're playing like out of their mind. They're getting turnovers at the right moments. They're forcing stops. They're getting critical drives to end in their favor. That's what you got when it comes to Snickers. And then, of course, you got to throw in the caramel. And the caramel is just the special sauce that brings it all together. And that is Ty Simpson, Ryan Grubb, and Kalen DeBoer. It is a trio made in heaven. You got a quarterback that knows the system and is mastering it. You got an offense coordinator that's dialing up plays that just always keeps you on your toes. And you got a coach that has the buy-in from the team with his image that now has everyone following in order. It's efficient, just like a Snickers bar. Nobody's complaining about getting a Snickers. Nobody's complaining about Alabama after that week 1 loss at Florida State. I'll tell you what, you probably got the dark flavored Snickers. That was what, that's exactly what it was. We saw the dark chocolate Snickers that nobody enjoys ever. We saw that come on display when they took on Florida State. And then you went back to the books and you said, let's get a milk chocolate Snickers. Lo and behold, traditional, the standard. And we leave now with Texas A&M, last team on the list. Texas A&M is a king-size candy bar. That's it. Pick your candy bar, because you want to what? Pick your poison when it comes to Texas A&M. You go to that house, you know which one around the corner. You know, the old lady who doesn't have any grandkids, but she wants to go ahead and give back to the community. That's Texas A&M right now. They give back to the community. They make sure that everybody in the SEC knows, guys, we're in charge. We're holding down the fort as the only undefeated team left. Don't worry about it. 8-4 jokes. Yeah, that's a thing of the past. Well, look out for 12-0. That's what we got. We're looking out for the SEC. King size candy bar, because you want to what? You can get a flavor, just like you can win in any way with Texas A&M. You're a Snickers guy. Okay. Well, I want to win through the year, and I'm going to throw it for 360 yards with Marcel Reed connecting downfield to Mario Craver, to Casey Concepcion, to Roman Bethel, to Terry Bussey, to Nate Borkature, to any of my tight ends. Yeah, I'm a Snickers. What about when it comes to a Reese peanut butter cup? You want to do that? Yeah, I'll run on the ground for 350 yards. That's not a problem. That ain't a problem. No, we're good. We can do that. We don't even need to do it with Le'Veon Moss. We're going to call Ruben Owens to the stand. We're going to call our favorite guy, Amari Daniels, to the stand. Marcel Reed, you want to go take off and run? Be my guest. I don't really care. But what about a Hershey's bar? Okay, we can play defense. Yeah, Cash and Sal. He's wearing the Jason mask this weekend. Yeah, he's going to go kill all the kids at Camp Crystal Lake. They're just quarterbacks in disguise. Like, that's who they are. Well, what if I'm a big fan of nerds? Oh, yeah, we got nerds. They're able to punch their way in the back end of the secondary. Don't worry. They're making plays left and right. Well, what if I'm a fan of a good old $100,000 bar? Yeah, we got $100,000 in the pocket of Mike Elko every single Saturday to teach our team how to play football. It's a king-size candy bar on the nicest house on the block is Texas A&M right now. Pick your poison and pick the way that you want to go ahead and get your candy. But Texas A&M is legit. And I'll tell you what, king-size candy bar, that's always going to win, regardless of what the flavor is, regardless of what the overall passion is. That's always going to win in the candy football playoff ranking. So there we have it. Those are your candies for 2025 SEC teams. Kentucky, you're unfortunately a dried up ball of popcorn. Black Licorice, you belong to Arkansas. Fun Dip, you're out of Florida. Milk Duds, you're with Mississippi State. Good and Plenty's, you're with South Carolina. Auburn, you're with Almond Joys. LSU, sadly, you're Starburst, but you're a pair of yellow ones. Twix, you're Texas. Oklahoma, you got the M&Ms. Mizzou, you got the Crunch Bar. Mega Sour Warheads, you belong in Knoxville, Tennessee. Hershey's Chocolate Bar, you're going up the street to Nashville with Vanderbilt. Butterfingers for Ole Miss. Georgia's the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Snickers are Alabama. And the king-size candy bar belongs out in Kyle Field, College Station, Texas, with the Fighting Aggies. So leave a comment. Give me your thoughts down below. What does your candy bar represent for your school? Like, review, hit subscribe. Make sure you're following us on all of our social channels. And as always, make sure you go ahead and visit us over at FanDuel.com/SECU. Because FanDuel.com/SECU right now is giving away a big treat this holiday season. $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Sign up today at FanDuel.com/SECU. Get in on the action. Certainly don't want to miss. Until next time, folks, have a spooky Halloween season. We'll see you on Saturday for the live reactions. I'm Cole Thompson. Enjoy. Trick or treat. Peace.